Mr. Speaker, the U.S. House of Representatives needs to concentrate its energy on helping Americans survive economic turmoil and defending our borders and national security. I once again urge House Democrats to get back to what the American people elected us to do: conduct oversight over the federal government and the Biden administration, which is on a path to destroy America. We need to hold hearings, conduct oversight, and pass legislation affecting the crises that every American's facing today. That's our constitutional responsibility. But instead, today we are once again spending valuable resources and time on divisive political messaging legislation. I think if any American was watching this committee hearing today, they would share the frustration of those of us on this side of the aisle who are trying to drain the swamp, who are trying to hold unelectable, unaccountable federal bureaucrats who refuse to do their jobs accountable. That's part of the job of Congress. This bureaucracy gets bigger every Congress. And I've noticed, with the exception of one speaker, all the speakers on the other side of the aisle who spoke in favor of this bill represent the Washington, D.C. federal bureaucracy workforce. The majority of Congress, we represent America. And America wants to hold poor-performing government employees, bureaucrats, who are paid with their hard-earned tax dollars accountable. That's why the Republicans oppose this legislation, and I urge all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do the same. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Kentucky yields back. Gentlewoman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to respond to my very good friend who I have tremendous respect for. I do not represent the Washington workforce. I represent New York City. I represent the private sector capital of the world, New York City, Manhattan. That's where I represent. But I also represent taxpayers, and I represent taxpayers, a lot of them. And they want their money to be spent for good government. They want the people working in the government to be impartial and dedicated to doing the best job possible without political influence. And that is exactly what this bill we're talking about today is about. Schedule F, as I repeat, was never about removing employees who are performing poorly. We have a whole system to do that. We removed over 10,000 last year. This is about protecting employees who are doing a good job from political influence. I reiterate the crucial role of the people who make up the professional and non-political civil service in delivering government services to our constituents, protecting our democracy, and carrying out agency missions across the federal government. Injecting undue political influence into that system, as Schedule F would have done, would be disastrous for the merit system we have in place. When we pass this bill today, we're making sure that no president of either party, Democrat or Republican, can ever unilaterally take such destructive action in the future. And with that, I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support a merit system, to support the civil service system that has served us so well, to vote to keep politics out of the civil service system, and to support the important underlying bill. And I congratulate my colleague and very good friend, Mr. Conley, on his excellent work on this bill. It is bipartisan. We have 3 Republicans, but I hope that we'll pick up more, because this is about voting for freedom, democracy, independence, good government, you name it. So I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support this important bill, and I yield back.
Gentleman